So, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to make a point off of the phrase you just used right there. You say, I've heard that being used, or you know of that being used?
I've heard of that being
You've
used.
heard of it being
Yes.
used. And the reason I ask that question is because who has ever heard before of someone where they say, a guy had a modified trigger, we'll say, on a gun, and they say, oh, he had a modified trigger on his gun, and I heard that was used against him in court. We hear these little stories like that. And anytime we hear one of those, Mike and I just say, cool, what was the case? Give me the case name. Give me the case name, because it's not true.
Okay.
It's just absolute nonsense. So the conditions, I mean the legal conditions, if we really get into this, is using lethal force against a person is ability, opportunity, imminent jeopardy, and preclusion. Those four elements need to be met if we use lethal force, and trigger weight is not one of those. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can imagine if a guy comes into the room right here and he's got a machete and he starts to hack me to death with a machete, and Dan pulls his handgun out with a modified trigger and shoots the guy, what does that have anything to do with whether the action was reasonable or unreasonable? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now remember what we said. We said there's what? Criminal and civil. So I will agree with you, not criminally, but civilly. Do you think a civil attorney, right, a personal compensation recovering attorney, is going to try to make an argument that you had all these guns in the house because you were a crazy person? Will they try to make that?
Yeah.
Are they free to make that argument?
Yeah.
They're absolutely free to make that argument. We come back to what? CYA. CYA, which means what?
Can you
articulate?
Articulate.
Okay, so the question of premeditation is, do I have firearms that are legally owned, and do I have multiple firearms, and are they in multiple locations in the home? Yes. Am I doing that because I want to leave that purse in the middle of the garage and tempt a guy to come in? No. Can I articulate why I have them in those locations? I know if Mike had 2 or 3 firearms in different locations in the house, Mike would say what? Well, there's 24 hours in a day, and I sleep on average 7 hours an evening. And I spend 75% of my day in area A inside of the house, and that is why I have 1 gun here and why I have 1 gun there. Okay? Right? In my opinion, that satisfies that explanation. If my explanation to that is, I have multiple guns in the house because of America, that's kind of garbage, right?
Yeah.
And that's just throwing up the wall, and that's not a satisfactory explanation. Does that help?
No, I'm
right?
sorry, yeah.
Now, can we go overboard? Right? I mean, what if you had 32 guns hidden in pots and plants and a fake toaster, and I open a Bible and a gun pops out, and I mean, like, really? That's a fake TV. There's a shotgun hidden behind it, right? I mean, can we keep just getting out of control with this? Can that happen? Yeah, absolutely. That can happen. That can absolutely happen. And that could turn people off, right? I mean, is it legal in some places to conceal carry a gun? Is it legal to carry 4? You see what I'm getting at, right? Who thinks that an attorney in court would say, why was this guy carrying 4 guns? And try to paint a picture. It doesn't change the criminality, but could it change perceptions that people have?
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, staging weaponry, where and when we can take and get that. I would also, just to close that topic out, I would say if we have more than 1 fire extinguisher in the house, that could really, really, really help me out with that argument. If I had 3 firearms in the house, and at each location of each firearm, there was also a fire extinguisher and a medical kit, right?
I see.
That's what these aren't. This isn't guns. This is emergency equipment. It just happens to be a gun and a medical kit to save lives and a fire extinguisher to keep my house from burning down, right? So that's like having night lights. I have multiple night lights in locations. Available communications. What do we mean by that? So